Let's turn our attention now to photos, and specifically how to find some great ones and then apply it inside of Canva itself. So where can we find great photos, how to select the right ones, some criteria we should follow to make sure the photos are as high quality as possible, and then how to actually apply them inside Canva. So where do we find great images? Well, Canva itself. The Canva search for within photos is actually really excellent. There's a lot of beautiful photos. They're all very high quality. You'll be well served to just use the photos within Canva on its own. So if we search for my favorite coffee, range of great, amazing looking photos. Again, like, let me just move this for a second, but each of them high quality, nicely shot, interesting, like a whole bunch of different layouts that you can consider. You know, you can really think about the type of design you want to come up with and then find the photo that lays out properly. So in this case here, we had some text. Let's find a, get some coffee. So just immediately, there's so many amazing photos right within Canva. You really don't need to leave outside of it. So it's a great place to start. Definitely recommend like going through this and searching. Search, of course, is definitely the feeling. And you can also kind of go for a emotion as opposed to just an object. So I did coffee. You could say cup. You have nothing but photos of cups. But you can say things like happy. And it does pretty good at finding photos that kind of emote that. Right? So happy, joyous-looking people. Like it's surprising how well it can get. So just come up with an idea or concept you want to and enter that right into it. You're going to be well served. But let's say you have a particular idea in mind and you just can't quite find it within Canva's photo search itself. So where else can we go? Fortunately, at the moment, there are some amazing, incredible free sites with stunning photography you can use and completely free for your personal projects and even commercial projects with your clients. So all these sites you can download, use however you want. And the quality is just stunning. So firstly, Unsplash. Completely free searches. You'll have some where it's put into categories or sets. So for instance, if you have this kind of bedspread here, if you scroll down, you'll notice that like here's ones that are related to that. So you can kind of browse and find similar ones. Then often too, the artist will actually feature it in various ones. So work, insert coins, weddings, whole lot of great thing. And much like it again, if we go with our happy. Now you'll notice some of the same photos because I believe Canva actually pulls a little bit from Unsplash, but not quite everything. So you'll find, just beautiful, stunning photos, really high quality. When you go into them, it's got these three kids with a happy soccer ball. So the download here will download a full quality like 1920 wide photo. It is amazing. So unsplash.com. To download the photo, you would simply just go download, choose where you want to download it. In this case here, just like drag it, upload it in, and you're ready to go. There it is, full, big, beautiful, stunning photo. So that's unsplash.com. Let's get rid of that for now. Let's make this white so we can actually see it. Unsplash.com. So next is Burst. So this one I find is a bit more interesting in that it often has some images that the other sites do not. So this comes from the fine folks at Shopify. And again, these photos are completely and utterly free to use. And as far as I've seen, the photos here only ever seem to be on Shopify. I think that might not always be the case necessarily, but I've definitely found more unique and interesting photos on this one. So if we again go with our happy, let's try that one. Yeah, you see this type of photo I hadn't seen on any of the other ones, any of the other photo sites. So high quality, visually interesting, well shot, unique, like a lot of really fun stuff. Let's go back up for, let's say, coffee. Yeah, some really beautiful shots here. So look at this one here. So same thing, so high or low resolution if you don't need a full one, you want to save some size, but download for free. Same part there. So Burst, as I said, if you're going to the other sites and you can't quite find what you're looking for, Burst is a really great option for something that might be a little bit more unique. So burst.shopify.com. Let's kind of keep that dark maybe and have it balanced against the cup. Burst. So next is Pixabay. So it's exactly the same thing as the others. Lots of free photos, beautiful. What's especially nice with Pixabay though is it does include videos and vectors. So when you go to Pixabay, pixabay.com, and you'll have the main search bar here. On the right side you'll see a drop down. So you can actually search for photos but also vectors, which is really exciting because that's a graphic or an illustration that could be stretched to any size that you want. You can then upload into Canva. Illustrations and then videos even. So that's always fairly exciting. So let's say, let's keep going with coffee. And here we have it. So we have a mug. If you can watch a preview here, just steaming away. It's like a nice, slow, subtle pan of a mug on a book. So you can imagine if you're doing videos or anything else for Instagram stories, this would be a great place to grab some free videos to use as well. But otherwise, if you actually go back to images, same thing. High quality, stunning, interesting compositions, really high quality. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick look at vector graphics. Yeah, look at that. So some kind of beautiful, interesting, drawn out coffee things as well that you could consider. So that's Pixabay. So for any of those, well, let's follow through on that and download and upload. Tell you what, let's actually go with an illustration. Oh, it's already coffee, I think. That's fine. Tell you, let's try to grab this guy here. Free download. Now you can choose your size or a vector. Now in this case, actually, since it's a vector, that's for Adobe Illustrator, which isn't going to help us for editing it, but we can at least have the 1920, so the full resolution. Okay, it's going to ask me to log in, but we'll do that for another time. So Pixabay, pixabay.com, another amazing source, as well as vectors, illustrations, and videos as well. So in some ways, what I'd like to do now is just talk a little bit of guidelines for when you're choosing photos to make sure it's the best quality and you're being well served in the design work that you do. Now with high quality, you're not really going to find this issue too much with the photos that you'll find in Canva itself, as well as all the sites I listed. But at the same time, it's just good to note it and be aware of it to make sure you don't err on the wrong side. And specifically, you want to make sure it's really high quality. It's crisp, it's clean, there's no distortion or blurring or anything. So you can see here definitely the benefit of this photo here as opposed to how pixelated and stretched, distorted, and kind of gross it is. You want a high quality design, you need a high quality photo. So you want to make sure that it's clean, crisp, really great. So this one's a bit more of a emotional call that you'll have to connect with it, but people can really determine authenticity. When you're talking to somebody, you know if they're being authentic with you, and since so much of our design is a conversation with people, the same is true for the photos. If the photos are staged or clearly fake or just, really improperly laid out, people sense it, they can know it, and that detracts from your design. So you can see here on the two sides, the one on the left, it kind of feels like we just sat down in a meeting and these folks are working. It's happening. This one on the right side, it's kind of this weird happy pose. It doesn't feel as natural. We can get that sense. So not only is, after that we know that the photo is high quality and good for using, is it authentic? Is it conveying the right message? Can we believe that this photo is actually happening, and then by extension actually happening for your design? And the same thing is true as far as stage. So this is obviously just unnatural. It's a weird kind of smile looking in the left. This one looks staged. I don't, when you look at these and the way that they're kind of put in their hands, firstly, when's the last time you did that in a meeting? And secondly, do they really look like they're into it at all? So it feels as if it's forced. It's clearly some actors being used for a photo. So, does it feel staged? And again, coming back to authenticity. The other last thing too is dated. Does the photo look like it was taken, late 2000s? Is it modern? Does it look like it's a modern day office that you could easily walk into? You want to make sure that doesn't feel too out of date. Now, I don't know that this photo is the best representation because there's a bit of a push to these retro graphics, which, I don't know that this would really be called dated, but you'll certainly know when a photo feels past its time, doesn't feel like it's current, doesn't feel like it actually happened these days. So that's all good for choosing one photo, but what happens if you need a few photos, either across a number of images in a PDF document or perhaps in an Instagram post. What if you need to have multiple images? What's really important is that it's all telling that story. It's all connected, right? So the 3 photos on the left here, you can see it's a story of travel. It's a story of the world. The design and the imagery, same with this sun kind of splashing over everything. It makes it all feel connected. This is the same trip. This is the same world. This is the same design and story. The one on the right, nothing to do with one another. The style of the 3 photos is vastly different. You got this like flat, abstract art feel to the first. So you have an authentic mountain walk, and then neon future dream type of feel. No connection between the 3. If you're going to have multiple photos, make sure they're speaking the same language so that the design feels cohesive. So are all the photos feeling like from the same story? Now, in choosing the photos too, I mean, where you could have the highest quality photo, you could have them all kind of connected, but what does the photo say? Like, what's the message inside of the photo as we're looking through it? In this case here, if we want to talk about, this example would be financial independence. You know, you want to be financially free. The photo on the left is in a kind of auxiliary emotion around it. They're kind of clearly traveling. It's a peaceful, serene moment. There's no stress. They're together. Like, what does your financial freedom look like? That becomes an interesting photo concept. The ones on the right, it's either too literal or kind of doesn't have a lot of class to it. So, you know, you're on a rich boat or you're throwing up dollar bills, or just not related. Here's a pug. Now, that type of thing can obviously work from a shock value as long as it's tied into your messaging. But generally, you don't want to be too on the nose. Do you want to save money? Here's pictures of dollar bills. Depending on how the photo looks, it might be too abrasive, too upfront, too obvious, and kind of detract from the design, as opposed to using photography to elicit emotions from somebody. Like, here's what happens because of this design. So when it comes time to choose a photo, don't think of just the exact message you're getting across. Think about what it could mean. Think about the end result that might result of whatever product or service you're advertising. So not have a message and don't be too direct. So great. So now we've found the image. We're ready to go. How do we apply it in our design? What are some key ideas? And, you know, there's obviously a million ways to do so, but I want to just run through real fast a couple kind of classic ideas, I'd like to say. So applying an image, how to make them look great. I just want to have a title and then a subtitle. Now let's, as we learned in our font, we want to make sure that the 2 of these look different enough to matter. So I'll tell you what, let's go with a kind of big, that's a little bit hard to read. There we go. Applying an image, how to make them look great. So I like that as a first font, a secondary font. If you go with Open Sans, it generally is always going to be a great secondary font. Open Sans is very versatile, goes with many things. So there's a quick font job. So we have applying an image, how to make them look great. Tell you what, even to speak to it. Now we talked about message, right? So I'm talking about how to apply an image, and then I have a picture of a beach. Not really connected, right? So if my message was something like using images as easy as a day on the beach, or it's just beachy, maybe that would work. Instead, let's actually look, let's, you know, walk the talk here and find some really nice photos. I mean, it's just some really interesting stuff here. So I like this type of thing where photos are layered on top of it, almost as if it's its own Canva thing. Let's go with that. I think that's really cool. Okay, so what are some ways to do this? You know, what I would call almost some default ones. Think about thirds, halves, and fulls. So what does that mean? Well, firstly, let's just say, let's take up half the screen with the photo. So what's great with Canva as, so on the photo itself, I grabbed it. You can see if you grab the corner, it scales the whole thing. If you grab this tab on the side, it's going to crop it for you. Now you of course can go up to the actual crop tool, but I find that's a very fast way to do it. Now Canva fortunately is also going to snap it in the middle for me, really nice, and tell me when it's halfway. So I do that and extend it there. Let's see how much room I have. So let's make that centered. Okay, so simply enough, just have it take up half the space. right? So it gives you a nice balance. That means like half and half, then whatever you write on the right side is going to be balanced nicely by the photo. 1, 2, looks good immediately. To this trick, you could also apply some color on top of it if you want to have that photo sit down even further and really go with your brand colors. And this is a trick, you'll see me pull this out a few times during this photo thing. If you want the photo to sit back or put something on top of it, adding your brand color on top can really help with that. So let's put that there. So I'll tell you what, let's compare the two. I'll duplicate so I can see it. So here's this. Let's position those and make sure they're centered. They are too. Right, so take up half. It's bold. That gives you plenty of place to play with on the right side. The two will go and it gives you a nice place to show off the photo. Now if you want to have a bit of a color punch and stick with your brand colors, consider putting it on top of it as such. So okay, so that's one idea. Thirds I had mentioned. So same, very simple idea, except you're really going to have the photo play a minor role. So it's kind of a minor speaking role to the text. So if you really want the photo not to be a big part of it, then you can have it only take up a smaller side, a fourth or a third. And then you can really blow this out. So let's do a quick trick actually here. So let's say I want to figure out thirds. Now Canva nicely tells you where the halfway point is, but how do you know where the third line is? How would I break this up evenly into 1, 2, 3? Take a square, put it up against the edge. Take another square and put it right beside it and have it snap to it. So you'll see it just snaps right there. And just to help us see it, I'm going to add a different color, copy and paste, snap. Snap to the end. So we have 1, 2, 3. Let's change our color too. Now grab the 3 of them, and you can group or just select the 3 and drag it across. Now because these are squares, are perfect squares, they're going to be perfectly, this will perfectly section everything up into thirds. So now I can grab this, and again it's going to snap for me. Snapping is super useful. And I'll get this out of the way because I need to grab what's behind it. So I'll drag it over, it snaps to that side. Drag it over, it snaps to that side. You can see how you can do that with fourths, fifths, sixths, whatever you want. So now it nicely takes up just a third. That leaves us all this room here to play with the text. I'm going to have this aligned to the left now, and because we have all this extra space, you could either use the negative space to really amplify whatever you're saying, or you could pump up the drama and have the text go really large. Something like that. So another option, have it take up a third. Now, what about full width? Another simple enough, and I mean Canva snaps and uses that automatically in many ways. Let's go back to photos. Yeah, this one. So if we click and drag and just bring it towards the edge, it's going to snap into the background. The problem with this is it means that there's not enough contrast, so I can't read this text. So same trick as you saw from above. We're going to take this color, put it behind, and that's going to allow us to have text on top that's legible. So we'll grab the 2 pieces of font though, position forward, and then go across. So now and then here, you could do anything. You could have in the top left, top right, whatever kind of works. Actually, I kind of like in the bottom right because it works nicely with the hands. So let's have it, we'll have them aligned to the right. Position, we'll have it snap there to the right. Now the text is still a little hard to read. That's not too bad. So the way to play with it would either be to try it black, so it's really sharp, or very, very dark gray. And you can also try it as a white. We're just playing and experimenting and see what works. I kind of like it with white, but yeah, I think we'll leave it with white. Tell you what, I'll even center this. There we go. Now another trick, if you want to see more of the photo, you can do the same thing, except for your color, just be a little bit less audacious with it. Specifically, just have it only cover or go above where the text needs to go. So if you want to show off more of the photo, simply just have the color bar go just around the text itself, which creates kind of a cool effect as well. It really clues in the user to see what is this splash of color, and thereby what are the words that are being said. And tell you what, for that we can actually increase the transparency there too, to make it a little bit bolder. So that's one way to do it. You could always see, then this is great. As mentioned in the duplicate one, it allows you to kind of rapid fire. Let's try some ideas. Let's see which one we like the best. So you could also do this in the middle. Right, so let's have it take up not too much. There we are. That just snaps into the middle. Another kind of cool way to do it. Tell you what, I'm going to move that down a little bit. Applying an image. So a trick with this too is if you go to my website at justenough.design and you download the freebie, the shadow pack, when you have this type of one, to make it stand out even a little bit further, you can grab one of these shadows and just sneak it underneath. So it's going to look like that colored bar is popping off the page. So real subtle, kind of a nice effect on that. So as you can see, it's just really fast. You can have it take up a half, and then use the blank side to add any number of text and instructions you need. If you want to bring in a bit more brand color, simply layer it over top. Consider taking up a third so that the real big element of your design is the text and the verbiage there. Have the photo take up the entire thing, and then add that colored layer on top of it to make sure that you can actually read the text. Very important, because of course you get rid of that, nobody can read this text. Now that's not necessarily the case. Tell you what, let's add one more quickly. So based on whatever photo you choose, it might actually stand out. You might be able to use the negative space within the photo itself to do it. So this one here, for instance, of course, the photo comes with a bunch of negative space, so we can just grab this and put it onto the left side. Position, let's put that onto the left. There, right? So you can almost, if you see the image as well, you can just work with its natural tendencies to find out where it would go. Otherwise, if you want to show more of the photo but still have that kind of color punch, you can just have the color only behind the text. So only have it highlight. You can then move that to any of the quadrants, upper corner, top right corner, bottom side. You can also have it being right in the middle, and then as a kind of bonus trick, consider downloading the free shadow pack, and you'll be able to add a little bit of extra punch to have that color pop out. So as you can see, working with photos in Canva is super easy. It comes with a ton of free, awesome options. And besides other sites like Unsplash, Pixabay, and Burst from Shopify, there's amazing free resources out there that you can download, apply, and have a lot of fun to really punch up your photo. So see you in the next lesson.